Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's take a breath together. We do indeed lean upon one another. Today, our talk is about going deep, digging deep. Um, I have to chuckle because on my vacation, I didn't stop being a minister. Went out of the area to another center the first Sunday, and the minister was like, "Let me see if I get this. You're on vacation, and so you came to church." um, and I thought about that, but yeah, because that's what I would do no matter what, because my spiritual practice and spiritual community is my priority, and it feeds me. And somewhere between childhood where I had to go, something shifted to where I want to go. To where instead of, there were periods in my life where I needed to go, and now I just want to go because it feeds me. And I spent a lot of my vacation time reading, and I was called to go back to a book that I have not picked up in quite some time. Scientific Christian Mental Practice by Emma Curtis Hopkins. And I have read this book once or twice. The pages are falling out, but there was stuff that I read this time. I'm like, was that in there before? There was a clarity that I'm getting from Emma this time that I didn't get before, and it fits quite perfectly with this idea of digging deep because Emma don't play. And Emma is just, if ever there were a straight shooter on planet Earth, Emma Curtis Hopkins was it. And a lot of what we actually teach came directly from Emma Curtis Hopkins. There's a deep connection between Emma Curtis Hopkins and the 12 step recovery community that I did not know. She she started a wellness farm. Bill and Bob, that wrote the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, actually wrote the majority of that book on her wellness farm. She teaches 12 principles. 12 step recovery is based on 12 steps and 12 principles. And when you really start digging deep into those, they are so in alignment with metaphysics. And I just kind of sat there going, well, no wonder it works because it's the truth. And it's a truth that calls us to responsibility, that calls us to embrace and embody the ability that already exists within us to respond. So I want to thank Reverend Madeline and Reverend Lanny for the last 2 weeks setting us up. Um, Reverend Madeline did a beautiful weaving of the different aspects of our Centers for Spiritual Living Global Vision and how all of us are a part of that, and how when we refresh ourselves with that information, then we become a part of a force that empowers that. I don't remember the exact quote, but she read from the Science of Mind book where Ernest Holmes talks about when many of us focus on the same vision, we empower that vision and the vision becomes more clear. And that just makes sense because we're all energy. And so the more energy that is focused on a thing, the more power that thing has. And what a powerful thing it is when we focus beyond condition to a vision of a world that really does work for everybody and everything that's in it. Now, Rev Lanny talked about going further together. And it's the same principle. And it's, I love that she included the Zulu philosophy of life, Ubuntu. And I encourage you to just randomly throughout your day, just say that word, Ubuntu, and feel the vibration of that word in your body. It literally means I am because we are. It is a philosophy of oneness, of wholeness. And I can't say that word without feeling the history of humanity. The voices of the ancestors resonate in that word, Ubuntu. And so if we dig deep into that, we have to look beyond who we think we are to what we are. Who we think we are, who we think God is, the word who becomes a very slippery slope because it is so identified with conditions and identities of planet Earth. Who is an identity? It is a limited identity. It is that thing that, many of us, well, that's just who I am, right? And notice that we invoke that to argue for our limitations. That's just who I am, as some big universal defense of what? What are we defending? Versus when we know what we are, who we are is simply what is expressing individualized as us. And who we are becomes very fluid. One of the things that I now know we misquote Emma a lot about is this idea that God is my good and my good is my God. And she did indeed say that. But what she went on to explain is that all human beings are constantly searching for what they think is good. And where we put our focus becomes our God. Now that's very different than just a blanket, God is my good and my good is my God. She calls us to a place of responsibility, a place of ownership about what is your God? What is your good? And she calls us to really look at, is it in principle or is it in form? Because if my good is my bank account, if my good is the number in my bank account, then my God is the number in my bank account. And how limiting is that? She puts it so clearly. She articulates, make now the statement of good. The good I am seeking is my God is my life. The good I am seeking is my health. God is my health. The good I am seeking is my strength. God is my strength. The good I am seeking is my support. God is my support. The good I am seeking is my defense. God is my defense. Life is God. Truth is God. Love is God. God is substance. God is intelligent, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. God is life, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. God is truth, omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. God is love, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. God is spirit, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. Notice there's no condition in any of that. My good is not found in condition. My alignment with principle, my alignment with who, with what I am, my alignment with what I am shows up in the physical form of my life. Sometimes we have it backwards. We fall into this idea that I am my stuff, that my value is determined by my bank account, that my value is determined by my job title, that my value is reflected in whether or not I have the kind of relationship that someone else thinks I should have. My value is determined by your opinion of me. I often laugh. People will say, they'll ask me about something and they'll say, "Do you mind?" And I said, "Not according to Deborah." Because sometimes I don't. And people will ask me, "How are you?" Depends on who you ask. Ultimately, I'm great. But you can ask 10 different people that, and you'll get 10 different answers. That's important. What's really key is that we understand no one's opinion of you establishes your value. There's one value. If there's only one thing happening, if there's really a wholeness, there can only be one value, and that value must be perfection. Now, we're not talking about our behavior. Our behavior is oftentimes far from perfect. We're not talking about who we are being perfect. We're talking about what we are being perfect. And when we know what we are, then we can align who we are with what we are. And our behavior reflects that, and our life reflects that. But if I'm busy thinking that who I am is different than what I am always operating in separation. And then when I look at you, I see somebody different than me. Rather than when I look at you, I see another aspect of me. What are you? You are a divine idea in the mind of the infinite to know itself as you. That's what you are. You are an idea. You are a desire in the heart of creation itself to experience itself as your life. How does infinite expand anything? It can only expand its experience. How does it do that? It creates in multiplicity. It creates in me as you, as us together as a new thing. And it expands its experience of its perfection as each of us. That's how perfect you are, beloved. You are an idea in the heart of the infinite to know and experience itself. Wow. Now here's the thing. We get lulled to sleep with who we are. And we get lulled to vitriol about who other people is. Right? Notice it's all quiet about who we are, but when we got something going on about who somebody else is, we get really loud. That's an interesting thing. Here's what Emma says about that. I actually wrote a little note here on the page that said mic drop. Because Emma says this. She's talking about how we lock into the ideas of absence, right? That there's only one thing happening here except all those people we don't like and all those behaviors we don't like. And she says, these are not innocent traits. They are the habits of thinking which belong to our manner of believing in the absence of a particular good. Take yourself in hand and looking up to the heaven, resolve to reason your special traits out of your life. We ain't special. We ain't unique. How do you have unique in one? There's only one. There is only one. So there can't be one of a different one of a kinds in one. There's just one. And if we will dare to take ourselves to task, to stop being so amazingly special. Because if you'll notice, you only become special when you're comparing yourself to someone who's less special. Notice that? If you're going to be special and there's only one here, everybody else is the same special. Whether you believe it or not, whether you acknowledge it or not, they still are. She goes on to talk about using denials to help us clear up. Because we can't say all those things that I read are truth and then have anything that's in opposition to that. Right? And so she doesn't talk about denying what's in the physical realm. She doesn't talk about denying bad behavior. She talks about denying cause. Right? There is no evil. She doesn't say there's no evil behavior. She doesn't say people don't sometimes act evil. She says there is no evil. Because in pure love, there can't be. Right? There is no absence of life, substance, or intelligence. There is nothing to hate. She doesn't say there's not hateful behavior. She says there's nothing to hate. There is no sin, sickness, or death. Now, she's not talking in the physical realm. In the physical realm, our bodies are temporal. She's talking about in that omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent place. Right? What she's calling us to is what we are in God, in spirit. Whatever name works for you, there's no evil. There's no hate in God. There's no hate in love. There's no hate in truth. All of that is evidence of a belief that is out of alignment with what we are. And it's not our ultimate reality. It's challenging in the midst of that to remember that. You know, when someone is writing articles in the newspaper in defense of American freedom for their right to lie about history, for their, someone, sent me an email the other day about an article that was in the paper that didn't, I think, this whole idea of playing with pronouns is a rape of the English language. Wowzer. No, actually, I don't. But it's that place where we're special, right? It's those places where we make our view the only view, where we act badly. And it doesn't just happen with people who want to oppress, right? There's a lot of social activism that I cannot be a part of because they're based in hate. I can't do it. Whose hate is more valid? No. Right? If we're going to come together, we have to be willing to come together. And that means, we can't eliminate supremacy by saying my view is the supreme one. My view is the right one. And yours is the wrong one. It's still the activity of supremacy. And it can't be accurate. Where is supremacy in one? Supremacy requires at least two. And it requires a higher and a lower. Even this whole idea of a higher consciousness, right? I challenge that. Because what's the lower consciousness? There's only one consciousness. What we're really talking about is our awareness of what we are. And if we will stop getting distracted by who we are, we'll know what we are. I'm going to wrap up with this. The words omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. If you break those words down, Om is the name of the infinite. Om is the I am. Ni literally means nothing. It is Latin for nothing, no thing. So literally, between God and presence, there is nothing. Between God and power, there is nothing. Between God and life, science, there is nothing. It is only our manufactured ideas of separation that prevent us from being that. And so I encourage you this morning, take yourself to task. Take yourself to task. Get honest about all of those things that you think make you special. All of those things that you think make you different. All of the things that you cling to that set you apart. And let them go. On page 48 of this book, and Emma was no angel. Emma spoke the language of her time, and in some of her writings, she says some horrifically prejudiced things. And I suspect she had no idea that they were that. She says this: the secret of freedom is in knowing what ideas are prejudices and should be dropped out of our mind. Take yourself to task. Where do you make yourself separate? Where do you make yourself different? Are you willing to let go of your identity of who you are to know what you are? Let's take this into prayer. And so as I breathe, I recognize it is the Om breathing me. It is the One breathing itself as me. One breath, one life. Fully present everywhere. Nothing between what it is and its creation. It is all there is. Being made out of it by it to expand its experience of itself, I know that I am that. And I know that what is true of me is true of all life. One I am, expanding its experience of itself in exquisite multiplicity, never separate. And so in this truth, I claim and affirm that God is indeed the good we seek, and that God is truth, God is life, God is peace, God is power, God is beauty, God is what we are. And so I speak my word, claiming and affirming that within each mind is an up-leveling. As we go deeper into the truth of who we are raised to a higher degree of awareness about what we are. And as we know what we are, who we are ceases to matter. And we simply stand in the being, in alignment with the truth of what we are. Our lives reflect that alignment. Our behavior reflects that alignment. Our connection, our wholeness reflects the alignment. that truly our good is what we are, and what we are is our good. And that is what we seek. Grateful. Grateful for this time to go deep. Grateful for this time to know truth again in every fiber of my being. Grateful to be used. Grateful to know that awareness creates more awareness. So I simply say thank you. And I release my word knowing that it's already fulfilled, that it's the word of the infinite speaking itself into being. I let go. I let it be. And so it is.